Here's a quick video on how to fix the shed if it floods. Okay, to explain a little bit what flooding is, we've got to start at the beginning. So the milking machines are essentially a giant vacuum cleaner. So they're sucking air all the time through this big blue pipe is what's called the vacuum line. It has the suction. So the milk comes up the cups, comes through up into what's called the milk line. That's the sensor for the cup removers, this box here. So the milk comes up through it, so then down into this pipe, and then it's sucked via the vacuum into the what's called the receiving can. Now the milk is pumped out of the receiving can via this pump, milk lift pump, which pumps the milk out through the plate cooler, through the filter sock, then through the plate cooler, and then into the vat. So to get the milk into the receiving can to start with, it's sucked via the vacuum line, which comes from that blue line into this what's called a sanitary trap, or a couple of different names people can call them, and then you'll see the outlet, the inlet into the milk lift, the receiving can. Now the vacuum pump can't handle water. Water will kill it. It's designed to suck air, not water. It can't handle it. So that's why we have these loops and stuff in it to stop it going up and over. So what the job of the sanitary trap is, if this gets too full, so I guess going back a step, the milk lift pump should always keep this empty enough of milk or water. If it can't, if there's a problem for whatever reason, the number one reason being the filter sock is dirty, so it can't get rid of the milk fast enough because there's too much resistance from the filter sock. This fills up too full and starts coming up over the bend here, and then starts filling this tub here, which is a problem. To prevent it going any further, there's a ball inside of here that floats. It floats on top of the water, floats up, and then when it gets up to the top, it blocks this hole here. It blocks the vacuum. So what essentially happens then is there's no suction anymore because the vacuum has been stopped. The ball has blocked the pipe, which is exactly what it's designed to do, to prevent the water then being sucked all the way into the machines. So the signs of flooding is you'll be putting the wash through. It can happen during milking, which is quite a pain. But the most common time is when you're doing the wash, because that's when you're putting the most volume of liquid through. So the most common, how to identify if you flood the machines is the water went through, so everything is set up in the shed, all right, and then all of a sudden it stopped going, and the machines just sound different. They sound different. They don't rev up very high, and the telltale sign is water will be coming out this flap down here, or out the end of the little holes in the cups here. There'll be water coming out there and here. If that's happening, you've definitely flooded the machines. So there's two ways to get them going again. Essentially what we need to do is to get that water out of there and drop the ball down and then start again. So one way of doing it is out here, is this little slide tap, rotate it around, and then shut it. It's very important that you push the handle straight up and down, not on an angle or anything, because you'll bend it and then it won't work anymore. So it's got to be straight up and down. And then what will happen is that that then blocks the vacuum here, so that what happens is then the ball releases, because there's nothing sucking the ball anymore, and so the water will drain out through the bottom here, through there, and you'll hear it. It's only faint, it's not real loud, but you'll hear a little thud as the ball drops from there and splashes down. Takes no more than 30 seconds for that to happen, and then what you can do is pull that back out and everything starts back up again and carries on as normal. Now the second way, and some say easier, it just depends on your personal preference, is simply to turn the machines off and then wait. You've got to wait for the lights to go out on this screen. So normally that screen has your writing on or whatever, what the pump's doing. You have to wait for that that disappear like it is now, or else it doesn't reset, it just carries on where it left off. So again, it's, I don't know, 15-20 seconds. So you just turn it off, wait for the screen to go out, turn the machines back on, and carry on as normal that way. Now if the machines are flooded during milk, then there's quite a problem somewhere. The first place to check is always the filter sock. That's the biggest cause, but there are other causes which I won't go into in this video. But yeah, filter sock's the number one. So generally, if it floods during the wash, it'll flood at the start of the wash, and once it's flooded once, it's normally will be fine for the rest of the wash because it's cleared all the water out and it just seems to be fine. But if we've flooded it, we now have to flood it intentionally, because what happens is all that milky water and stuff ends up in all sorts of places that doesn't get washed normally. So now we have to flood it intentionally. So to do that, just have the machines going as you normally would in the cycle phase. To the hot water, we want to do it with hot water if we can. And then we simply turn the milk pump off, which this is the controller for the milk pump. The button on here, or at the time I'm making the video, doesn't work for some reason. You can push it as much as you want, but it doesn't work. So you have to climb up and manually turn that switch off up there. Now just note, if you're climbing up there, don't grab this bar here to pull yourself up, or more importantly, when you hop back down, because of course it hinges. It's the last cow bar, so it's quite important for safety that you don't grab that as you're coming down, because you'll come down with it. So you turn that off, keep running the plant as normal, and what will happen, because that turns the pump off, it floods it intentionally. So it does exactly what we want it to do. And so then once it floods, again, you'll know water will start pouring out the bottom. Then you can go turn it off inside, but we're standing out here, so it's just easier to do it out here. Shut that off, wait for the ball to drop, and then start it back up. And then I always like to do that process twice. So once the machines are started back up, you don't have to turn the pump back on, just leave it turned off. The machines will flood again. Start them, reset them again, so that off, wait 30 odd seconds or so, start it back up, then go turn that pump back on, and now everything is just carrying on completely normal as it should. So yeah, just carry on, happy days. If there's any further problems with that, I need to be made aware of it, or Kirsty, because there's obviously bigger problems. But so that's the general gist of the machines flooding. This here, don't twist it from there, hold on to here. We always like to keep that up. The reason for that is we've had it in the past, when you flood it, the milk then all drips down into here and goes stale, and we've got a grade from it. Even though it's not come into contact with the milk, it's the smell of it actually got into the milk. And yeah, well, that's why we could put it down to. The proper guys came out and everything, because they were scratching their heads, and you can't clean it, you can't do much with it at all. You can pull these hair off of those bolts, but you can't actually get in there at all. So we leave that up, so that way milk can't sit in it. And the second thing is, sometimes when you twist this down, this whole milk line twists, which isn't ideal. So we just want to make sure that those gauges are still at the top. They just twist. They're not locked into place, because it relies on the vacuum. So they just twist around. When the machines are running, they don't twist very easily because they've been stuck together. But when the machines are off, they twist pretty freely.